we are again for another installment of Let's Talk. And guess who we have today? I'm so excited. Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start.
When you read, you begin with ABC. When you sing, you begin with me, me, me.
Jerry Piper is with us this afternoon, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And
that was rehearsed.
Don't tell all that. Don't tell all that.
Giving away all the secrets, Kathy.
That's right. And you can tell I don't carry a tune. So anyway, well, let's start at the very beginning, and let's just tell me about you. How did you? Okay. Where were you born?
You bet.
Family?
I'm originally from Illinois, Southern Illinois. It's rural, little small community of 700 people, salute, and called Elkville, Illinois. I lived there. It's agricultural coal mining.
Oh.
Yeah, right. From a line of coal miners in my family. Mm-hmm. And it's everything that I didn't want to be when I grew up. And I'm from a very interesting, dynamic, musical and artistic family.
Cool.
And but people didn't live with the belief that you could actually do something of that nature for a living. So I was always told, all my life, that I was talented, I was good with music and art and things of that nature, but that's not something you can do with your life. Remember
right.
where you live and where you're from, and you need to have something practical. You need to be a shoe cobbler or something of that nature.
You gotta have a career.
Oh yeah,
a real bread and butter career.
With me, it was you gotta have a gimmick.
Well, tell us about your family.
I have a wonderful family. My father, who is still living, is a musician. Has been since I was a child, and he's played with some wonderful musicians through the course of his life. And when I was a child growing up, he was a rock and roll musician.
Whoa, back in the 60s?
60s, rock and roll and rhythm and blues. And he played with some really great people. And that in itself was quite interesting, because this little town that I'm from was a little conservative community, and there were no bars or anything. There wasn't a liquor store. The only churches and a post office.
I got the vision.
And a grocery store, and so to have a father, who was a rhythm and blues and rock and roll musician, and we have the band rehearsing at our house, and my mom. Beautiful. They were both movie star beautiful.
Oh.
So my mom was a singer as well, and so my family is very, very dynamic. My brother, is the front man for one of the best bands, in the region. Singer, harmonica player, and have all the horn section and all that kind of
cool.
stuff. So they're amazing. And my sister is also an artist. She makes jewelry, and of course the tie-dye clothing. I'm wearing one of her shirts that she just sent me a couple of days ago.
Cool.
But she makes tie-dyes and sells at fairs and festivals and boutiques and things of that nature. And her jewelry has sold internationally.
Wow.
So I'm just from a very artistic family. My uncle was a fashion designer, and
wow.
We just had lots of that kind of thing.
Lots of creativity going.
Lots of creativity all the time.
Okay, I can't let this one go.
All right.
What was your favorite band growing up?
Growing up, I remember when the Beatles came to the United States.
I do too.
I was smitten. I'd never quite heard anything like it. And I love the fact that their hair was a little longer. Than what most people were wearing in the United States. So I followed suit immediately. My mom and dad allowed me to get a pair of Beatle boots.
Ooh.
And I let my hair grow out a little bit, and that was unlike most other kids. But that they remained, really at the top of my list of favorites for years and years. And I still love their music to this day.
I do too. Okay, when I say Beatles, what's the first song that pops into your head?
She was just 17, you know what I mean, and the way she looked was way beyond compare.
Oh, yes, oh, yes. Okay, well now, what about your first job? Tell us about your first job where you got money, real money.
Really, the first job, I'll have to say two. When I was in high school, I used to, farmers would come and pick up the boys to go out in the field and bale hay.
Yeah.
You know, and you pick up the bales of hay and throw them up on the truck, you know, and you do that all day and get sunburned and tired and get your muscles all in shape. And that was the first job I really think I ever had. But then the first real job, I began working for my cousin who was an architect. And I would, it was before the days of the large printers where they could print out your architectural plans. And so he would literally have me sitting at a desk and I would trace all of his architectural plans. So that was the first.
In this small town?
Well, it was about 5 miles away from my hometown. And I was maybe 15 when I started that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very
It was
good.
a cool job.
I bet. What, you did it every summer or after school? Or?
It was in the summers. Yeah.
Well, what was I know you're an artist. What other occupations or careers have you had?
I thought that I was going to pursue a career, some kind of medical career, like getting an RN or something of that nature. And I discovered that I have a fracture in my spine. And once I learned that, at that time, because of the way certain laws were, the doctors I was told, in no uncertain terms, there's not a hospital in their right mind in the United States that will hire you, with this issue. And so they said, I hope you have another plan. I'm like, well, I'll do music. And it just so happened, that I started writing songs, because being a musical family, I started writing songs as a teenager when my parents got me a guitar for my senior year in high school. And started writing my own songs, and by the time I was in my very early 20s, I was living in Tulsa, Oklahoma, going to school, and I got discovered by a Grammy Award-winning and Dove Award-winning artist, and heard my music and my songs, and next thing that I knew, it was like 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to Nashville, Tennessee, and signing contracts, and all of a sudden that whole element just blew wide open, and then I began to write songs for the #1 gospel group in the nation, and they recorded 2 of my songs.
What was it? What was that group?
Their name is the Downings. That was their name, and they were the #1 group in the nation. They were amazing.
What year was this?
This was 1976, I think.
Around that ish.
Right, 76-ish.
Ish, okay.
Yeah, and on their last 2 albums, they recorded 2 of my songs, that became national hits. And it started a process. I became, published in these big songbooks, and as a result, I had about 40 songs or 40 so songs recorded throughout the course of my life, that I've written that other people have recorded.
Did you get paid for that?
Well, you do. Yeah, you get paid. Yeah.
Here's $50. Thank you very much.
Well,
and don't tell me. Don't tell me. I was just probably very meagerly paid.
Well, here's the thing. Depending upon your understanding of the business and the kind of legal counsel you have and things of that nature, you can really make that business work well for you. I was very young, wasn't real understanding of the business, and kind of got myself locked up in contractually, with different groups and things of that nature. And it did pay, but nothing like what maybe could have happened.
Yeah.
But it continued to open doors, and I soon thereafter became lead singer for an internationally known group that was based out of Tulsa called Living Sound. Their records would get like 4 stars on Billboard magazine.
What type of music?
It was gospel music.
Okay.
Yep, and traveled across the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, doing major concerts. We performed in front of 20,000
Wow.
people, television, radio, even an ABC movie spot. And it just continued, to open up. After that, I got under a recording contract with Castle Records and recorded my first album of self-penned songs, and that actually, came into national spotlight, got national attention with good reviews, and I was told that I was the first person in Christian music to sing what was then classified as MOR. It's called Middle of the Road, and that's now considered like adult contemporary.
Huh.
Okay, it's like when you listen to Carly Simon or James Taylor, adult, smooth adult contemporary. Well, that was what it was called back then, and I was called the first person that ever did that kind of music in the genre. So that just took me, to traveling, doing concerts and appearances, nationally. And
Okay, how old were you kind of sort of?
I was in my late 20s at
Wow.
that time, and did a lot of television and radio, and of course, a lot of appearances going to radio stations and interviews and things of that nature. And that was my younger life,
Mm-hmm.
and got out of it probably in my early 30s.
Tired of it?
It was hard. It was alone, and it was hard. I wasn't married, and when you're just traveling, all the time by yourself in a car, and just not enough coffee to keep you awake.
So you didn't have your own big bus or anything?
I didn't have my own Learjet, anything of that nature, and the travel, element was hard. To work, I loved the work. Loved music, loved singing, loved writing, loved all of that. But just traveling alone all the time.
Okay, so that career kind of came to...
I literally just brought it to a halt and started working as a music director.
Where?
At that point in Illinois. Started working as a
school? At a school?
At a church music director.
Okay.
Doors kind of blew open to me again, with that, and I did that for shortly after I had my first job. I met my wife Lonnie, and got married.
She's beautiful.
And she is beautiful.
Very beautiful.
And then when you get married, you settle down.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I settled down, lost my hair, and gained weight. So,
oh well, happens to the best of us.
Never to return. So it's taken us that kind of a job. Now, of course, my wife is brilliant. She's much smarter than me, except for the fact that she married me.
That's right.
Okay? So I'm a very fortunate man, and we wound up here in Oklahoma 20 years ago, and she's from Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and we met in Illinois. We moved to Texas. We moved back to Illinois. We finished our degrees. We started, taking some, more jobs, with, church work, and she started her own career at that time. And then an opportunity blew wide open for us to come to Oklahoma City, and we took it. And
lucky for us.
And it was like the whole world opened up for us. That's when things began to change for her. She went to Oklahoma City University and got her master's degree in business administration, and just spread her wings and flew. My art career blew wide open at that point. So
Where? How? What did you
Well,
do?
what happened was we'd been in Texas, and we left Texas and the jobs we were in. We moved back to Illinois. We both went back to school, and I told my wife I hadn't finished college, and I was 39 at this time. I hadn't finished college, and I said I always wanted to study art. And now this is the interesting thing about my life, Kathy. I wanted to be an artist from the time I was a child. And when I was graduating high school, my guidance counselor said, Jerry, what do you want to study? Let's get you ready for college. What do you want to study when you go to college? And I was like, I want to study art. And he just went, put on the brakes, and he went, you can't do that. I said, why not? And he said, well, because you've been to school right here in this town, first grade through 12th grade, you've never had one art course. We don't even teach it. You haven't had it. You're not going to be able to compete with all these kids from Chicago and St. Louis and East Coast, and they
Don't tell Jerry no.
And I thought how crazy. Maybe he knows what he's talking about. So when I got to college, I went to my first guidance counselor there. Once I entered school, and she said, well, Mr. Piper, what would you like to study? And what would you like to be your major? And I said, I want to major in art. She puts on the brakes, and she says, I'm so sorry, you can't do that. And I said, why not? And she said, because you've never had art classes and you can't compete. So she told me the exact same thing. And I had my whole world kind of crumble because I was waiting to get out of that little tiny, school confinement that didn't offer anything, and get into a university where I could study the things that I wanted to study. And the result was I was told I can't. They just said no. And so I floundered in school. And that's the reason, growing up in a musical home, music was just, I'd studied piano since I was 5 years old. I played drums, I played horn, I'd sung in choirs, and I sung with my dad's band. And so I sang in church. So music was everywhere. And so the easiest thing for me to do was I just said, okay, if I can't do art, I just dove head first into music, and I didn't have to do. I did nothing that required like a bachelor's degree or anything of that nature in music. It was just all very natural, and I just did it. And I thought, how crazy. People told me I can't do art, and people told me all my life I really could never grow up and do music when I wanted to, because it's not around here.
Right.
You don't really
Right.
do that, and the music world just blew open to me, and so I just followed it until later on when my wife and I were given scholarships to go back to school. And I was going to finish up a music degree, which I had started when I was younger. And I said, the day before school started, I said, I'm going to change my degree. Why am I changing my degree? What do you think about this? I'm going to study art. Here's my chance. And she said, go for it.
Oh,
And I did. I walked in the day before classes started, and I said, I want to clean my slate. I want art classes, and I don't want anything else. Art classes.
OCU and OCU?
No, this was in Illinois.
Oh, we're back in Illinois.
Yeah,
Okay.
at Eastern Illinois University,
Okay.
and which is where I finished my degree. And after that was when we came to Oklahoma, and immediately, art galleries, things of that nature, began to open.
What's your favorite art medium?
Well, that's hard to say. I've studied, oil and drawing and watercolor in school, and I love all of those mediums. But I didn't begin to paint with acrylic until I was here in Oklahoma City. And I went down to the Paseo one day, and I walked into one of the little galleries and studios belonging to Chickasaw artist, very famous. His work is in the Capitol building, and his name's Mike Larson. And I was smitten with his work. It was beautiful. And he began to just talk to me. I was questioning him, about his style and what he did. And And he was telling me he painted with acrylic. And I go, oh, why do you paint with acrylic? He said, because it's dry within the day, and time is everything, to me. So I can paint really fast and move something, and I don't have to wait 6 months like you do sometimes with an oil painting for it to dry. And I thought, I'm going to try that. And so I began learning, how to utilize the medium of acrylic, and for the most part, that's what my work has been in, is acrylic. And it was really difficult at first, but I've got a handle on it, and I love it. You can see my work right here, at the Healthy Living Center.
Well, tell us what you do here at Healthy Living.
Okay, here at Healthy Living Center, I actually walked in, me and Lonnie, just to check out the facility and look at becoming involved.
You were going to go to the fitness park.
I was going to go to the gym.
I got it.
And me and my wife both, we were going to go to the gym.
I got it.
And this sweet little British lady was our guide through the center, and she said, "So, Mr. Piper, what is it exactly that you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm an artist and a musician." And she just perked up immediately. She went, "I've got somebody for you to meet." And she just literally, Cheryl was standing out in the lobby, and she just handed me over to Cheryl and said, "This is somebody I think you need to meet." And I met Cheryl, and it was just like electricity. She and I immediately hit it off. I adore her. And when she found out about my background and what I do, and etc., she reeled me in immediately to start teaching art classes. And I've taught different kinds of art classes. I've taught acrylic, I've taught watercolor, I've taught pastel, I've taught life drawing, and also I have directed a group. Claire came to me, the director of the facility here, and she said, I want to show you something that I recently saw in New York City. And she showed me a video of a group of seniors that showcased like rock and roll music from the 60s. And it was so cool. And she said, "Do you think we could do something like that here?" And I was like, if you will let me have that, just let me have that. I want to do it. And everything opened up, and I started a group here called the Rockwells, a singing group. And that has been one of the great joys of my life.
Has it really?
Oh, like you wouldn't believe.
Oh.
It for all of us,
Yes, I can see that. Now I can tell you. Let's see. Ooh, I don't. Jerry brings the best out of everyone when they are singing.
That's very kind.
He really does. I've seen it. Now he hasn't got to work on me yet. It is my favorite day of the week when I hear Jerry's booming voice coming down the hall, and then trickling are the next few people in his class, and then you hear these beautiful sounds. It's just my favorite day.
It's been amazing.
I'll be glad when all this craziness is over, so we can go back.
The Rockwells, of course, has come to a close as a result of the COVID situation. Because singing, can produce the projection of the aerosols that they say is so dangerous, and so we don't want nobody hurt. We want nobody hurt.
Right.
And but we're all chomping at the bit to get it rolling again. I hear from them all the time, and they're so anxious, to sing again. It just produces a joy. It became a highlight of everybody's week, and that's exactly what everybody across the board said. It's like, this is the highlight of my week. No matter what's going on, we come into this facility, we walk into this room, we get our places, and we start singing, and the next thing I know, everything is uplifted. Everything,
right.
It just feels good again. It feels right. It levels us out and decompresses and gives us joy and all that type of thing. And it did all that for me, all of it. So it was a big shared mutual joy bus.
Oh.
And we're looking forward to that.
And they're always songs of the 60s.
That's all we do.
So you can
We do songs of the '60s.
sit back there going,
Yeah, exactly. It's great fun, and I'll say, what was a real highlight for all of us right before everything closed, due to the COVID situation, we were asked to host a pancake breakfast, and I've been to a bunch of the pancake breakfasts here. And you come in, you eat some pancakes, you visit with a few friends, and you leave. And we had continuous music going every 7 minutes throughout the 2 hours of the breakfast.
Live singing.
Live singing, exactly. The Rockwells would get up and do a number, and then another person would do a solo. I would do a number, and then the Rockwells would sing again, and that was, every 15 minutes we'd have these 4 numbers. And what was really crazy about the fact was that nobody left. People kept coming in, and it just got fuller and fuller and fuller, and then people were standing around the perimeters watching, and the applause was just thundering, after every song, and it thrilled my heart that at least on our big finale, with everything that we were doing here, was that event, and
I never thought of that.
And it brought so much joy and pleasure and excitement, things of that nature. So it showed them what we could do, and we'd had other performances that were very well responded to, but we'd never had a situation where we were the show. We always shared it with somebody else. We were the show, and people kept coming, and nobody would leave.
It was minimal equipment.
Minimal equipment.
Very minimal.
Yeah, minimal equipment. Lots of pancakes.
I got so tired of flipping that. I don't think I've ever flipped that many pancakes. I'm not ready to start flipping.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. When you got a whole core of people, that are a choir, that are filtered throughout the room, and everybody is, they're manning a station, they're serving tables, they're flipping pancakes, they're serving fruit, they're pouring coffee, and all over the place. Then all of a sudden, they all collect and take 5 minutes and sing a song. You got a whole audience of people that aren't being attended to. But it seemed like nobody cared. Nobody cared. It was tremendous.
It was great. It was great fun. It was great fun that day.
Yes, it was.
So breakfast kind of morphed into brunch, and then we were easing into lunch. Wait a minute here. We've only got so much pancakes.
I know. It's too bad we didn't serve Bloody Marys along with it. We would have had them here till 3 or 4 o'clock.
Tell me your greatest accomplishment.
My greatest accomplishment.
What do you feel like is your greatest accomplishment?
That's a hard one to whittle down to one. And let me say, I think the greatest thing that ever happened, to me was finding Lonnie and getting married. Because she's such an amazing individual, and we just celebrated our 33rd anniversary this past week.
Congratulations!
And I couldn't be happier. We still like each other.
That is,
congratulations after 33 years.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
That is an accomplishment. But then there are other things that just throughout the course of my life, getting to do the things that I've done in music, having just a little kid from Southern Illinois, 700 people, writing songs for the #1 group in the nation. I never thought I'd ever see that accomplishment, and then seeing my work recorded by other people. It just continued, to happen. To get to travel as I have. First concert we did at or when we arrived in Australia was at the Sydney Opera House.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. To say, I've sung at the Sydney Opera House, it's amazing.
Not many people can say that.
No, but I have just had so many wonderful things, that have opened up.
And you're a lucky person that you cannot just narrow it down to one.
I really can't.
You're very lucky.
I'm most fortunate. Blessed, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any little pearls of wisdom that you would pass on to one of your favorite friends?
Oh, gosh. Well, for me, yeah. You probably know who you are. Okay. Question authority.
Question.
Always. Always question authority. And
There you go.
That's it with that.
Well, I guess we'll wrap it up with
That's
so
just
long.
Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen, adieu.
Adieu. Adieu. To you and you and you. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Jerry.
It's my pleasure.